Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by me, Frank Gruber, and joined by my friends and colleagues, Jen Consalvo and John Guidos. This podcast explores the latest trends and advancements in technology and business, including emerging startups and how they shape today while looking forward towards the future. We also enjoy testing new gadgets and products and sharing our findings too, along with our favorite pop culture picks like music, books, and what we're streaming. This podcast is produced in collaboration with our company, Established. Ready to dive in? Time to be somewhat frank. Welcome back to Somewhat Frank Podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, your host. Today I am joined by Johnny Good Times Guidos and Jen Consalvo. Welcome, you two.
Hey there.
Okay, so we got a lot to talk about today. We've got an exciting episode. We're going to be talking about TechCrunch being sold again, the challenges that 23andMe are facing right now, including bankruptcy and data issues, the whole controversy around that's been sparked around lab-grown meat. There's some bans happening around lab-grown meat. And I had to Google that and see what that even meant, because I know there's other lab-grown meats that I've eaten. Anyway, we've also got Bill Gates in his vision for AI-driven future. He just gave a talk and shared some, or actually was doing an interview and shared some thoughts around AI. And also, Sesame Street is battling for survival right now. So we've got a lot to get through. Wanted to just quickly see if there's anything on your minds, like besides March Madness coming at you this week. What are y'all up to?
March Madness here as well. It's on the mind. We got a big game tonight. I know that, this episode will probably go out early next week, but so, our big fans may already know the winner of this, but they're playing tonight. And so the game's a 10-10 game in Indianapolis where I live, but
Purdue,
I'm not gonna go. It's too late. I'm gonna be watching from the comfort of my own bed. So
Purdue, Houston, University of Houston. For those not familiar, I've got the Purdue jersey on. If you're not watching the video version of this, and Johnny's got the Purdue hat on, and Jen's got her black sweater.
As usual.
Hey, Jen, wasn't American your team American University was in there this year?
Yes, it's not the first time, but it does not happen frequently. So we were happy to just be part of the action.
Yeah, definitely. Sweet 16 has been really interesting. There's a lot of great teams in there still, a lot of great athletes, including a lot of Big Ten teams that are in there and have been doing pretty well. So obviously pulling for the Big Ten. Also, there's a Mainer. I don't know if you know about this or not, but one of the best players in the country, if not the best player, um, Cooper Flagg is at Duke, and he's leading up the charge with Duke, and he's from Maine. So he put on a pretty good show the other night, and we'll see if he continues. He's in my like my number one, like the bracket. My bracket will be destroyed if he doesn't play well. So I'm definitely pulling for him. But
he's really good. I don't follow Duke closely during the regular season, but in the tourney I do, and just the games I've watched, he's really like a game changer. He's unbelievable.
yeah, definitely. And they're saying he
Oh,
might go.
that's great to hear. Love it.
He might go there. He's like from the small town. Kind of reminds me of like a Larry Bird kind of story. So that's kind of interesting. But the other thing is rough. I don't know if I told you this already yet, but I'm cheering for Purdue, but I'm also kind of like in a weird position because if Purdue wins, because they had a really rough go there where they lost like five straight to like Big Ten teams, even though they were like really good at the beginning of the season. So I thought for sure they're going to go out in like the first or second round, and they made it further than I anticipated. And now they're playing Houston, University of Houston, and obviously my bracket shows that Houston's going on, so they'll blow up my bracket if they win. But I'm still pulling for them. Hope they can pull it out. All right, so moving on here, we've got a lot to get through. First off, a few quick announcements. So for those not familiar, we launched the Established Network recently at just this last week. If you're not familiar, it's a network that we kind of launched online. If you go to established.network, you can learn more and join. It's a place for innovators to connect, folks that are interested in entrepreneurship or ecosystem development or just innovation in general. So we're trying to create a really great place for folks to kind of connect and continue to foster collaboration. So check that out. It's free. You can just go to established.network to join. And we do a monthly innovation, so the monthly innovation circle, which is happening the third Thursday of every month. So it'll be coming up April 17th, April 17th. That again is a free call, or you can just dial in or whatever and get engaged with what's going on all around the country. So check it out and please join if you get a chance, if you're interested. All right. So that's all I got for that. I am getting ready to, not for another week or so, but I'm getting ready to go hang out with space people out in Colorado Springs. The space symposium's coming up, so gearing up for that and trying to prep for that. I'm not really sure. Jenny, you've been to it before. What do I need? Do I need like space gear of any, like what do I need?
You do not need space gear because it's here on Earth,
Oh,
in the beautiful Colorado Springs, and it takes place at the Broadmoor, which is a really gorgeous resort. Um, but it is, it's funny. The first time I went, we were working with NASA. I went a few years in a row, and I remember getting a phone call right as I was packing, and my client said, "Jen, just warning you, it's a little sooty." Um, but I found it not so much sooty as more like tons of people in uniform
oh,
with
not bathing suits, like actual like suits.
suits. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but there's tons you're gonna see. Like there's probably three different categories. One is tons of military, right? Tons of people in
Uniform.
their uniform. Yep. And then you'll see uh sort of the business reps, right, from all kinds of large companies. So they tend to be a little bit more dressed up in suits. And then you have all of the emerging space companies, and those people tend to be a little bit more like business casual. So
Mhm.
you've got some tiers there.
Okay, interesting. So I'll try to fall in the middle there somewhere, with my classic VC garb, which more, basically is just like a nice shirt and vest or
You'll be fine.
some
No
suit
baseball hats.
jacket thing. All right, we'll be good. All right, and Colorado Springs, I've never been, so that'll be kind of fun. Moving on, we got TechCrunch, who we're all familiar with, has been around for about since 2005. Is actually being sold again, this time to a private equity firm called Regent for undisclosed amount, expanding upon the media portfolio by Regent. They just bought Foundry, a company behind was it I think it's PC World and Mac World and one other Tech Advisor, I believe. Anyway, so they're about kind of doing a roll up of tech related stuff and media, and it's changing hands again. It was acquired in 2010 by AOL, and then AOL got acquired by Verizon, which kind of rolled up AOL and Yahoo, and then it was it was sold to Apollo Global Management Group in 2021. And so, long story short, this is another acquisition. Shows a shift, you know, basically in TechCrunch is obviously still a very large brand and doing a bunch of different things, but it's a shift in strategy for Yahoo. And interesting. They're still retaining like a small stake in it though. So I know we were involved early on. Definitely involved early on with TechCrunch. I was one of the first writers for TechCrunch when it was just Mike Arrington. Like I wrote some of the larger posts back in 2005. So still has a little sweet spot in my heart, though it's definitely changed over time and grown and whatnot. So interesting to see where it's at now, and obviously we'll continue to follow that story. You guys have any thoughts?
I was more curious to hear your all's thoughts because with your history with Tech.co being a similar media company, you're reporting on tech related, topics, and you guys obviously went through a successful exit with that, and now TechCrunch has been sold a couple times now. I was more interested to hear if you all had any interesting thoughts on it.
I mean,
Yeah,
TechCrunch has been such a successful media property. Um, I think my hope is that again they've really continued to be the leader in their area, reporting on technology. They're still a go-to property. People think about them first. So I'm just hopeful that in this yet another transition that the firm continues to kind of retain that position. I'm sure that type of transition can be difficult on the team. So it'll be interesting just to see how that goes. I mean, the transitions can really be the what makes or breaks a company. And we were fortunate that when AOL acquired it, that was always a big risk, right? And then for them, Verizon transition, Yahoo, Apollo. So that's a lot for one media brand to go through.
yeah, it sure is. It definitely is, we'll see. I know from people that were there, and it's been, changed internally. There's only a few people that I know are left, and if anybody, right? So it's been gutted for a while. So it's interesting to see that it's able to still keep pumping out all the content.
But there's still a big team now. So when we say gutted from the original crew, but they've got a sizable team. They've got some great assets in terms of the events that they still do throughout the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
I mean,
would
better for the original team. Go ahead, John.
would you I have a question because I've been following this a little bit here and there, but there's really been a change recently in what they call legacy media. And I think would you consider TechCrunch legacy media just in the fact that like it may have been the first of the new media, if that makes
Yeah,
sense, right?
right. It's
Like
been around 20 something, yeah, 20 years now. So it's now 20 years old. So that's,
I have a hard time thinking of it as legacy media.
yeah.
I mean, they've continued to evolve. It's not like we're talking about some
CNN
cable
or
channel
right.
that's like been struggling and losing viewership. So I wouldn't take it that far.
No, yeah, they still take the new approaches. Like they're lean, right? So I think that's part of it. And they focus a lot more on getting the stories out in events. So interestingly, so Engadget is going to remain under Yahoo. But Jen, you did a little quick analysis. It looks like Engadget's not nearly as large. Is that correct?
I think it was about just from the quick numbers I looked at, I think Engadget's about a third of the size from a revenue and team perspective than TechCrunch. I'm not sure if those numbers were correct, so take that with a grain of salt. But I would venture to guess that that's in the ballpark.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so anyway, Yahoo is going to have a small stake in it. I think, they could consolidate all those brands that they just acquired, Regent did, into like one super brand, I guess you could say, and that's their goal, right, as a private equity firm, and hopefully create some efficiencies and obviously make a bigger, better product. So see how it goes. We'll keep an eye out on TechCrunch. All right, moving along here, we're gonna go 23andMe, another company that's been around for a little while. Did either of you do 23andMe?
I never did, but one Christmas I bought it for my mother because she's very interested in genealogy and those sorts of things. So
Mhm.
so it's kind of interesting because if you follow, prosecutors and um, police and those sorts of things, the way that they do DNA testing, they have access to all that data. So, notwithstanding the fact that I did not participate in a 23andMe kit, they still have my data through my close relatives that they could track back to me potentially. So I need to be careful when I'm out there with all my serial killings. So
Right, right, absolutely. No. Yeah, but yeah, that is interesting. I mean, you kind of get looped in based on your family. So I didn't do it either. I think one of my family members may have, so that means they may have be some data out there. He might have done ancestry instead. But either way, it does beg a question. And the reason we're bringing it up is 23andMe is filing for bankruptcy, and the genetic testing company is struggling financially due to, the one-time purchase model that they have, and then declining sales, and then you've also got, they had a kind of a massive data breach in 2023, where a lot of this data already was leaked. So, around 6 million users had concerns around the data security. So yeah, it's definitely had some issues there. But long story short, they are currently, filing for bankruptcy, looking for a buyer. Their co-founder, original co-founder, Anne Wojcicki. How do you say her name, John? You're better at this one. Wojcicki? Anyway,
Wojcicki.
Wojcicki, yeah. Wojcicki had stepped down as their CEO, and she hopes to repurchase the company. So that's kind of the latest, but that could be old at the time you're hearing this. Maybe there's already been a solution in place. But either way, it's interesting. And the reason I wanted to talk about it was really about the fact that, literally anybody could come in and basically swoop this up and own a lot of genetic data. So that's kind of an interesting uh, issue slash concern. And so there are users that were trying to get in and get their data out and like delete it basically so that they can't like be a part of that acquisition or whatever. Maybe falls in the wrong hands and somebody that owns your data. So that was a concern. But then there's also like if you haven't used it in a while, I've got a friend actually that he told me he's like I was trying to get in there to delete it, but I don't use the email account that I associate it with anymore, so I can't even get into it. Like I can't get to it, and so that's kind of concerning. He's like locked into them owning it, I guess, at this point, unless he contacts them. But again, I
Where
mean,
there's a will, there's a way.
yeah,
I don't think I would let that stop me.
yeah.
right, right, right. Don't give up. Don't give up if you're trying to get your data. So anyway, that's kind of interesting. So we'll keep an eye on this story, and I don't know if you guys have anything else. I know there's some legal protections, limited legal protections around genetic data due to like HIPAA laws and whatnot. So that's part of there's not been a ton of um, there's been some issues around that because people want to protect the DNA data. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on it with an eye for what's going to actually happen and maybe bring it up again. But I just thought it was interesting because that's a lot of personal information out there floating.
Well,
So
and I think John brought up a really good point, which is, for many of us who never use the service, it almost doesn't matter because if someone else in your family did, your information's still out there, right? So it still can impact you. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think, this is why so many people now, particularly younger generations, are like, look, everyone's got everything on me. All my data's out there, genetic information's out there. What does privacy even mean anymore?
right.
Yeah, this is one of the things I think we're going to see the implications far down the line. I don't even know that we can comprehend fully what this means. Like, for example, like if we were to talk through this, some hypotheticals, right? Like what is the downside of other people having your genetic makeup? I mean, can they make clones out of you? Can they make diseases specifically to hurt you? I mean, I don't know, right? I don't know enough about it. So, I mean, your immediate response when somebody has your data that you don't want them to have your data is it's a bad thing. But I'm just curious what the real downside is to that, or the real potential risk that there is there.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point.
I feel like the one thing I've heard the most risk around, and again, I don't know if this is realistic, but could there be implications for insurance costs? So that's the thing my mind always goes straight towards, right? So is there something where they can see you're predisposed to certain things because of data that they were able to collect, accurate or not, and could that impact the way your coverage works or the costs? So those are the types of things I worry more about. But yeah, I mean, this is we're in new
No,
territory.
that's a good, Jen. That's the first example that anyone has ever given to me, and I've asked that question a lot. So I no, I appreciate that. Now that actually makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I
So
mean, there's cancer strains run in certain family,
Hmm.
certain genetic makeups of families, and if yeah, I mean, you could see a real life example of somebody being denied medical or life insurance based on their predisposition to certain diseases and stuff like that. So it's not really the risk I was thinking. I think I was thinking more like blockbuster movie, like creating these like
Yeah.
these diseases that can wipe out certain parts of the population. But that's a real yeah, that's the first time anyone has actually answered that question. So I appreciate it.
It's always that sort of invisible, it's a little bit boring, right? But it has real implications.
yeah, I mean, so United Healthcare, right, could come in and swoop up and maybe acquire this and then own all that data and then start denying people service potentially or somebody like, something like that, right? Or any insurance company. So that is definitely concerning.
Or
Uh,
whoever owns it just does deals with them and
oh, yeah. They don't even need to buy it. So customers can request data deletion. So experts recommend that they do that. That's experts, including us, reach out to, you know, get your data back basically and have them delete it ASAP if you're concerned about this and want to take back control of that genetic data. And again, if you have family members you know did this, like you could have them do it too because like we discussed, it could come back regardless of if you did it or not.
This is kind of a different subject, but similar in that same vein of asking for your data back. Years ago, I read online that you could ask Google, like Google Maps, to blur out your house or your property from
Yep.
Google Maps, like their street view. And so I actually, on a whim, I just submitted a request to see if they would do it. And you go to Google Maps right now, type in my address, it's a big blur spot. So they did fulfill my request to remove my property from Google Maps. So
well, look
similar.
at that. That's awesome, John.
Yeah, I know, because I'm a celebrity and all of our fans. I don't want one of our weird fans from Somewhat Frank podcast finding out where I live and putting my personal life in danger. So I'm kidding,
That's a great
obviously.
point.
But
That's a great point. We should definitely do that too. Jen, we should get on that, get our house blurred for all the fans. But I do I do want to make sure we keep going here because I know we got a lot to get through, and this we could talk about and we were talking about banning things a little bit, and this so it felt like a good segue here. Um, you all have had like Impossible burgers and stuff like that, right?
Of
yep.
course.
Yeah, Impossible makes some pretty good meats and whatever, but they're made out of they're made in the lab out of plant materials, and so there are now new companies that are making meats out of basically lab grown meats out of cells derived from meat. And so there's been some bans. Mississippi is putting up the block on that and say they passed a bill prohibiting the cultivation and sale of cell-derived meat with penalties including fines and jail time. And there's also similar bans being enacted in Florida and Alabama, and other states are also doing the same. So some legal challenges for these companies that are literally growing meat in a petri dish from cells and looking to create a better product than, the Impossible Burger, basically. So kind of interesting. Stopping it before it can get started, more or less. And it's kind of an interesting. I guess there's some political and cultural kind of opposition to this because of the fact that it's, I
This
guess,
this has big lobby written all over it in my book.
yeah.
And, for a country that is so focused on not stifling innovation, this feels a bit ridiculous to me. This feels like a pretty big overreach. And, you know, when we're looking at food security issues for many countries, why try to stop this so early on? So that's my take on this. Like, especially with really coming in hard with jail time and things like that. I don't know. I think this is a lot of folks who are saying don't tread on our businesses.
That's true. I mean, definitely a big, big farming industry there that might be upset with this, right? So I think, but on the flip side of it, you are like not hurting animals, like you're creating, things from cells. So I think that's the other side of it. So, and there's a big survey that indicated about two-thirds of Americans are open to trying this cultivated meat. And so obviously just depend on how it all plays out in the courts, and obviously whether these companies can make it taste good and make it affordable and scale it and all that. I don't know. What's spam? What's spam made out of? Is that made out of
It's,
cell? I don't even,
it's ham, but it's very highly processed and a lot of preservatives and that sort of
how is
thing.
that even not? How is
I'm,
that even possible? Like seriously, we're gonna eat that?
well,
Like I
it's
don't know.
it's a similar kind of argument. I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty indifferent on it. I understand both sides
Yeah,
of the argument. If it can help people, then by all means. I mean, at the end of the day, it's free will, right? And people are going to buy what they want. I mean, I'm personally not going to buy it, but what do I care if it helps other people, like people that are homeless, for example, or can't afford food? If it provides a nice alternative and it can provide sustenance,
yeah.
then by all means. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to do it, but I'm not. I guess I'm just not super opposed to it. So, and the idea of growing it, I mean, it doesn't have a soul, right? It's tissue.
Right.
We're all vessels, but it's the soul part of it for me, anyways. I don't want to get too philosophical with it, but I mean, if it was like creating something that was conscious and then you were killing it for it, I could see that being an issue. But I think, from my understanding, is it's just growing, tissue from um, tissue that's already available. So,
Well, to your point, that's what farmers do. They
yeah.
literally grow things that are conscious and kill them for us to eat. So I think that's the funniest part about the whole thing. It's like we're literally talking about petri dishes here. So it's interesting that there's that much pushback, but I get why. Obviously, there's big dollars behind it and the whole industry. So, and then, there are some folks that are, concerned about it maybe potentially having too much soul. But yeah, I don't know.
I doubt it. I don't see this as like vegetarians going out and trying to ban this. I think this is a concern of, are we threatening our traditional farming institutions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all money, and that's the way it'll shake out, right? If there's a
Yep. Yep.
if there's a market for it, it'll prosper, and if people are creeped out by it, kind of like me, then it's going to just go away. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
but that's what the free market decides.
yeah,
Why do we need to go in there and start passing laws to like ban it at this point?
Well, I'm freaked out by spam. I'm gonna put it out there. I know people love it.
And that's legal. And so is Scrapple.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
Go to Pennsylvania and ask.
Scrabble? No,
John, you're
Scrapple.
from Pennsylvania. What the heck?
I
It's
don't
the
know.
land of your people, John.
I'll tell you, I'll look into it, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah, come back next week. I want to know what Scrapple is. It sounds like Scrabble, like a
I
game.
ate it at someone's house once. It's okay, so it's a Pennsylvania Dutch specialty, a loaf style meat made from ground pork, pork offal, which is organ meat, spices, and coarse flour or meal, and it's like fried up for breakfast. And I remember being so excited to try it because my friends in college like talked so highly about scrapple. And then I remember waking up at my friend's house and smelling something so god awful, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is that smell?" And they were like, "Scrapple." It
Scrapple.
was not my thing.
That's funny.
That is funny.
It reminds me of being up there with visiting y'all in Maine years ago and trying that. What is it, like bread in a
Brown
can?
bread. Brown bread.
Brown bread. Yes, you go to the store and you get your can of brown bread. You have to open it and scoop it out.
Well, no, it just kind of slides out,
It
right?
plops
Like
out, like
pops
kind of
out.
like cranberry jelly, but it's
I
bread.
love cranberry jelly that pops out. So don't be knocking on that. That's some good stuff.
I was excited to try the brown bread, but I was not a fan. It was kind of flavorless and
The
not a.
canned, I hate the canned brown bread, but I will say a few years ago we did a big start of the year summit event in Boston. And the hotel, I went to the restaurant and the chef had his own homemade brown bread. And it was, I swear to God, it was one of the best things I ever tasted. It was so good. But I've never found it like that anywhere else. And you cannot get that taste in a can.
And that's just bread. Like that's just like a recipe of bread. It's not like actual meat or anything, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, it's just an old classic New England
Bread
dish.
recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
for me, it looks like banana bread. So I was going into it thinking it was going to have some flavor like banana bread or cinnamon or something like that, and it is doesn't taste like anything. It's just like eating a sponge or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kinda
a weird sponge.
weird sponge. Brown bread. Check it out. All right. Moving along, getting back on track here. We're going to talk a little bit about AI. First off, Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, he was on the Today Show recently and laid out, and this made some news. He laid out some things around AI and jobs in an interview. And he thinks, some of the impacts of AI are going to be on the workforce in some of those key areas, and maybe not roles that we think of. He predicts that within the next decade, AI will perform tasks requiring specialized skills in the field of medicine and education. So, basically saying, these advancements could take, make high quality medical advice and tutoring widely accessible and free. That's in only in 10 years. So it's quite possible. I mean, I'm finding myself looking up things, via AI all the time, trying to get more details and diagnosing things and all that. And so I could definitely see that. And then obviously he also looks into, you know, just a disruption in general around, how AI is going to kind of impact youth, and everyone's gonna be a little more AI centric with their ventures and whatnot. So I don't know if you had a chance to see the interview or check out any of the kind of clip. I always say cliff notes, the notes around what he said, but thought I'd bring it up here because it's definitely we talk about AI a lot, and he's obviously being a thought leader in just technology, might have some good thoughts or insights.
Yeah, I've read the article and I agree with some of his points, right? But I've actually recently done a 180 on AI, I think, and everybody worries about losing jobs to AI and this sort of thing. I really don't foresee that as the biggest risk. I think that it's going to change the landscape of things, right? Like people that do things with their hands, like plumbers and electricians, are going to be more highly valued because now we have tools in the more like legacy academic space. Um, but I don't really foresee them stealing jobs necessarily. And the birth rate is already in decline, so the numbers are all gonna balance out. What I'm most excited about, and I think it sounded like Bill Gates was as well, is you know um, AI helping push some of these medical and health related innovations. For example, like years ago, and just in the cancer field, for example, you get diagnosed for cancer, and they have things that they know have good efficacy rates, and they try different medications on you, and it could take, you could spend the rest of your life trying to find a cure or something that helps treat your specific type of cancer. Now, my understanding is you could take a biopsy of the cancer cells, and AI can within seconds, run them through all of the history of all of these experiments and research that we've done and target, and accurately target treatments that can specifically target and treat your types of illnesses very, very quickly, right? So like that gives me I'm greatly encouraged to hear those sorts of things. So I mean, I see those the biggest, in the next couple of years, like really the biggest, hopefully the biggest help that we can get from it. But the human labor and taking jobs away, I think it's just going to be a really good tool for us to use moving forward, and things will shift and markets will shift, but I don't know that it's necessarily going to, you know, be the end all like some people are talking about.
Yeah. I think people have to understand that it's a tool. I feel like people feared the internet, right? Like, oh my God, this is going to take away jobs. There've been a lot of points like this throughout history. Um, and like many other things, people have to figure out, how does it change this field? How do you incorporate it? The people who know it best are going to win, right? So if you're studying, if you want to enter a field, you've got to start learning AI and figuring out, how does this impact my field? How can I be the best at AI in my field? Whether it's creating proposals, whether it's medicine, whether it's research, whatever it might be. So I think yeah, I think you're right, John. I think it's actually really exciting. There's, of course, going to be growing pains, and it's going to hurt, and there's going to be industries that are changed. Um, but it's also really exciting. Not just I get excited about health and the massive leaps that can happen there, and how many lives can be impacted, but also, like, the world has a lot of problems. Could it help solve other things, when it comes to climate, when it comes to, again, food insecurity? There's got to be other big, massive problems that now, with AI, with quantum, that we'll actually be able to tackle and change, hopefully. It's at a certain point, it's not going to be about not having the resource and the ideas and the blueprints from these tools. It's going to be about the will to actually get it done.
Execution, right. And
Yep.
Jen, you brought up a good point too. Made me think about, I've seen some recent studies they've done in the field of education. And I think that, like, now that, taking a sample set of students without AI's assistance and with AI for learning purposes, the students that are now learning with AI tools have significantly shown improvement in their grades and their standardized testing and stuff like that. So that'll be
Interesting.
another area to keep an eye on as well.
Oh yeah, kids. I mean, they're going to just be doing everything with it as a tool. Can you imagine how? I mean, we had the internet barely. We just got it like halfway through. Like kids have had the internet now forever, and now they're going to have AI as a tool, which is going to be, I mean, it's just going to propel them like way forward. I saw another story, I think it was on Instagram or something, but a teen leveraged AI to diagnose heart disease. Like he's created this way, like what? That's crazy. Like that's amazing. So you're going to continue to see that happening with these really smart kids, like leveraging it because it's all they know and making huge strides in different areas, as you all talked about. Obviously,
And
one
and
second.
the whole doctor shortage. I mean, that's a real, doctors and nurses, there's a shortage. There are massive issues around this country, right? So the more that we can actually leverage this is going to help people. I was
Yeah.
just thinking about the old Dr. Google, right? Like we all love to go to Dr. Google, but that's rapidly changing, like you said, Frank. Like you go to ChatGPT. So now we've got Dr. AI.
Right. Okay. And so moving along, sorry, I'm trying to keep us on time here. So let me just keep rolling here. So you also envisioning, you got this future of like humans not being needed potentially, like we talked about. And I don't know, so like we all I think agree that there's gonna be just in various like ways that people are gonna be leveraging it. So I think that's the main point I wanted to make sure we closed on with this topic. All right, let's move along because I know speaking of AI a lot here and how it might be leveraged. I don't know if did you all see the story in the New Yorker about the AI lover and how it can change you? Did you read this? Basically, AI as a romantic partner is something that might be normalized here in the future, and it's imminent, future here as AI-powered chatbots and virtual companions are becoming more interactive, personalized, and emotionally engaging. We've talked about this a bunch with like the movie Her and like how that kind of actually is now coming to fruition. But yeah, it's definitely reshaping, could be reshaping here our interactions here shortly. And there's a whole article about it in New Yorker and wanted to get your take on it. Are you uh, are you looking at anybody looking at AI lovers as a side hustle?
And that's a side hustle, but a potential change of lifestyle, I guess.
Right,
No,
yeah, right. No.
I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, most of us have seen the movie Her. I think that was really, really well done. It was a couple of years ago now, but
Yeah.
it's all coming to fruition for them. Well, it's somewhat coming to fruition, I guess. But um, I think it can have some benefit for people that are maybe lonely and having some mental health benefits, but also some unintended consequences as well. Relying too much on somebody, or you know, um, kids these days. I know Frankie and I were talking the other day, and to be a kid and you find somebody on Instagram that you find really attractive and really interesting and doing cool stuff, and you get a crush on them, and then you realize that they're fake, that they're AI generated images and content. That could be really upsetting as well, I would imagine. So it's going to be this is one area of AI I think that's going to be really strange over the next couple years, obviously.
Yeah, that is a great example. And I know, Jen, you've got some thoughts as well around like, I mean, humanizing AI is dangerous, right? A little bit dangerous as as we move forward. And because like we talked about not having a soul. At this point, it doesn't have a soul unless we figure out a way to like combine like AI with humans, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my pet peeves right now is when, and it's so easy to do, right? We refer to our AI assistants as gendered, right? Like if it has a female voice, we call it her. If it has a male voice, we call it him. And we are already referring to these tools as gendered, right? And it's a pet peeve because I don't want to give away that power, and I don't want to normalize it. I think a lot about my daughter and trying not to normalize it so that she thinks of these, artificial intelligent, assistants, robots, whatever we might have in the future. I don't want her to think of them as human. They are not yet, as you said, right? And yeah, I think, everything the article points out is right. There could be there could be some opportunities here for to help think about it. We saw already a company that was providing AI assistance to help cure loneliness for retired people, right? People who live alone. Maybe it's helping them, it's communicating with them and looking for cues to see, are they sad? Are they at risk? Right. So there could be some great opportunities there. But then when it starts to cross that line and become true companionship, a replacement for others, then what are we doing with our humanity? Right? Like we got to encourage people to be out there and connecting with each other.
Yeah, my biggest concern is the risk of loss of human. You're literally now like maybe you're getting really engaged with this AI companion, and now you're like in a silo talking to a robot, basically chatbot or whatever, and you lose track of the fact of life going on around you, and maybe you
Right.
start losing the desire to have human to human contact because you're getting everything fulfilled by this AI chatbot who knows everything about you and is going to continue to film,
And
basically continue to
exactly.
like cycle back through that viral loop of like things to keep you engaged. And so I think
If
that's
we
the
think our
concern.
phones are addictive, I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds far-fetched, right? But
Yeah.
think about algorithms that are literally designed to keep you engaged and get you addicted. Now,
Be like, yeah,
apply
looking at the
that
screen all
exact
day,
same
talking to your,
thing to
yeah.
see, I just said it myself, to something that is designed to keep you engaged at a whole different level. So now this is like, and then apply that to someone who's potentially young, whose frontal cortex is not even fully developed,
Yeah.
right? And what kind of risk do you have?
Well, they're going to outsmart them. Like the AI is going to outsmart humans, and that's the part that's tricky about this is like they will have the ability to process things faster and be able to manage the situation in a way that could actually manipulate you to do something maybe not in the best interest of yourself. So I think that's the concern I have.
It's already happening. Like I'm with my nephews on the weekends and they're playing, Fortnite and these games online. There's online communities involved and the kids there. I mean, we're all 70s babies on this call right now, but like, for these other and I hear stories from my other friends about their kids and some of the stuff that they're doing on social media, like Snapchat, for example. I know it's a little different than AI, so I don't want to get too off topic, but like it's some pretty wild and not good, not good stuff. We'll put
Yeah,
it that way.
right. That's definitely true. All right, so we're gonna move along, and hopefully, there's some guardrails put around this kind of AI. I mean, not talking about things that would hinder innovation, but at the same time, some protections in place so that, we saw what happened when social media just was let run free, and now there's some negative impacts, right? So I think you got to figure out, project and be a little bit more visionary around like what this could do, and think about how to like, you know,
Yeah.
set it.
Particularly for younger people, right? Like
Yeah.
we've not done a great job historically of protecting youth. So hopefully we can get better there.
Yes, for sure. Speaking of social media. I was testing something this recently. I went over, and I know Johnny, you tested this as well over the course of the last few months, and I know it's nothing new, but they're making some changes to it, so I thought it was worth bringing up. So YouTube has been around for 20 something years, right? So they've got now shorts. They're trying to compete with every, TikToks and in Instagram and these shorter form videos, and so they created shorts a while back. It's a short form video experience for creators that are a minute long. And so I started testing it recently and uploaded a couple of videos just to see how they would do. It's not, I don't have a huge personal YouTube following. I haven't been using it very much, more like on Instagram and things. But anyway, long story short, I wanted to see no pun intended. I wanted to see what it was like, and they actually got a lot of traction for just a very short amount of time. And I'm going to continue to use it, obviously, to post things, and we'll drop a link if you want to check it out. But it's interesting. They're also going to change the algorithm. So I got like 1,000 views in a couple days, and these are not videos that I really shared with anybody on those platforms. It's just the algorithms playing it whenever people look for things. And so just puts back in your mind, like YouTube's a huge search engine, so it could be another way for folks to get some exposure if you're trying to do so and do it in a way with these short format videos that you're already used to doing on like Instagram or TikTok. So they're changing the algorithm so anytime you click a video now, it'll be counted as a view versus right now, anytime you actually have to watch it for a certain amount of time, it counts as a video. So that'll change on, I think, March 31st. So folks will be getting a lot more quote unquote views. I think they applied the old algorithm that they were using on regular YouTube to the shorts initially, and now they're changing that. So worth a look again, and if you're interested in like getting out there and connecting with people in a different way. Uh, all right. Anything you guys are testing, or should we move on to watching? I know we're cutting it on time. We try to keep it pretty tight for people. All right, we'll move along. So watching and listening. This is a new one that's out on Apple TV. I know, John, you watch it as well. It's the Seth Rogen and Catherine O'Hara. It's a show called The Studio. It's follows the legacy of Hollywood video studio striving to survive in a world where it's increasingly difficult for art and business to live together. So, it's a really interesting. I've watched an episode, and you watched probably a couple. There's, I think, going to be a third one dropped here soon. Really interesting show. I know they premiered that, I think, or we're doing something with it at South by Southwest, and I saw Seth Rogen actually at South by Southwest, kind of walking around. So, definitely interesting and worth checking out. Johnny, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I'm a big fan already. I'm 2 episodes in, and I don't know. For me, I really like that, like behind the scenes stuff. Fun fact about me is originally what I wanted to do with my career was be a set designer on movies. And so seeing the
How fun.
yeah. So seeing the behind the scenes of how the Hollywood world works, and also starring everybody in that show I like so far, right? Like Seth Rogen, Catherine O'Hara, what's his name? Ike Barinholtz or whatever his name is. I never know how to say it the right way, but anyways, yeah, it's a really good cast, and it's a show worth watching. Like it very much.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, watching the classics as well. We got, Severance, and I know we talked about before, White Lotus dropping new things and doing crazy things. So keep an eye on those as well. But Jen, I know you've been listening, and I know I wanted to share a little bit more and a little brief update around this podcast called Telepathy Tapes. Do you want to share anything about this?
Oh, sure. So Telepathy Tapes is a podcast and documentary series by Kai Dickens. She's a documentary filmmaker, and it investigates claims of telepathic communication and other extraordinary abilities in non-speaking autistic individuals. And I will say it does have some criticisms, and it's been called pseudoscience, but boy, when you listen to this podcast, it's actually pretty amazing. And it really dives in deep with the families, a lot of the moms and caregivers, and it's very, very powerful. So I had seen it floating around for a while and decided to listen to the series. It came out last September, and it's really well done, really interesting, mind-bending.
Yeah. Can you give us a quick, I know we're cutting it close here on time, but can you give us a little bit more like, literally, is it autistic children that can read minds? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's more than that.
Yeah.
So it's reading minds with high accuracy, and not just anybody. It's like, it's close individuals, right? It's kids who, who usually it's with a person that they feel they can trust, a bonded person, and they are actually able to have um, telepathic abilities that goes back and forth. Um, they can meet each other. So these kids actually they have all these cases where these are children who have never met in person, yet they are able to meet, literally a meeting of the minds, telepathically, and get to know each other and come back and share with each other things about them. And then they've been able to connect, like the moms have connected and actually proven this. So there's just a lot of things that suggest telepathy, clairvoyance, shared consciousness. So again, it's mind bending. It's fascinating. Kai Dickens is a great documentarian. She's a great storyteller. So it's very interesting to listen to.
Sounds like it. We'll have to check it out. We'll drop a link in the show notes. All right. And with that, we're gonna move on to our final thought. Uh, it's kind of a melancholy thought, but I wanted to hear y'all. Did you guys watch Sesame Street growing up?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
a
we
big fan.
had.
Yeah. Who's your
Boy.
favorite character?
Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, who's
Oh, yes. I did. I was sad whenever Snuffleupagus didn't make an appearance.
He was
yeah.
very like it was like it was a treat if he made an appearance, right? Like
Yes.
he wasn't like on regularly, but if Snuffleupagus was there, it was like a little treat. So
And I
Yeah.
think I liked Ernie.
yeah.
Ernie
I
always had
like
a lot of energy and was excited.
yeah. Um yeah, he was, wasn't he? I'm trying to think. Grover, he was one,
No,
right?
that's who I meant. Grover, the
Grover. He's
skinny
like
one, or the
near
blue one.
far. Like
That's
near
Grover, near
far.
far guy. Yes,
Grover, yeah,
Grover.
I love Grover. He was so fun. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is they've hit some financial, kind of some financial struggles, and the nonprofit behind Sesame Street is losing its lucrative deal to HBO, and it's worth like 30 to 35 million dollars per year. And they lost some government grants thanks to the current administration cutbacks, and creating, basically this huge $40 million deficit. And so long story short, they've weathered storms like this before, I think, but they are going to have to shift the way that they do things. Obviously, the rise of YouTube, rise of a lot of different things like Bluey and Coco Melon and all these different popular shows. We love Bluey, right? Bluey's great. So it's a new kind of group of like upstart kind of media brands have kind of come in and taken little shares of what we'd be watching, or these kids would be watching normally, and taking their attention away from Sesame Street. So they've seen a little bit of a decline. They've had to lay off some people. The format, of the show has not changed very much since like the 60s. So anyway, it's a it's kind of a situation where they're not going to have to reinvent themselves, and it sounds like they're going to. And so I guess the silver lining is they're currently searching for new distribution and funding. They could look at other platforms like Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, things like that, as well as some of their philanthropy work that they do. But yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, but at the same time, it gives it an opportunity to kind of take a look at what they're doing and maybe evolve a little bit more for the current generation. I think that's the upside, and wanted to get your guys' thoughts before your final thought on this before we head out. What should Sesame Street do? What would you do if you were Sesame Street?
I I think you I think you said it best, Frank, that they need to just reinvent themselves. I mean, I was, well, as much of a fan as I was when I was little, everything has its run, right? And sometimes you need to change. And the barrier to entry right now, I feel like, utilizing YouTube or other online platforms um, for child or for media or content for children is the barrier of entry is so low. I mean, the three of us could start our own show right now, and if they need like hundreds of millions of dollars to produce this puppet show, for example, I don't know, its current format obviously needs to change. I'm just speaking the obvious, I guess. I was surprised that it was so expensive to make that show. And I think he said it best, with the market being so saturated with these new companies and the lower barrier of entry, it's a bad recipe for the future unless they change.
Yeah, definitely agree. And go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, and despite the fact that like our little one was into Elmo and into some of the characters, she was never into the show.
Yeah.
Well, things like Bluey completely enamored her, right? Or Peppa Pig is another big one, right? And they're so simple and easy, and I think and short. I think that's so much of this today too, right? Our short formats. Go where the kids are. You've got to be able to change, like you said, John, and cut your costs and figure it out. We all are sentimental about it. Uh, Hopefully they'll find their way. Sweep the clouds away.
Well, there weren't that many options either. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. But I just remember one of my favorites. I did totally didn't even think of this before. Cookie Monster. He's like the best. He
Yeah.
loves cookie. He loves the cookie. And he shows up and he like throws out first pitches at baseball games, and he's like kind of does like his own media. He's a big deal out there still. So they've done a great job with their characters. Big Bird, he's out there too. Like there's a lot of great characters. And now it's just, I mean, the assets that they've created are out there. Now they just need to figure out how to like leverage them in a way. And they've done a little bit of that with Elmo, like kind of breaking Elmo off to be its own thing or whatever. So, I mean, that's a whole strategy in itself. Like literally make sitcoms around each one. Like, what are they each doing? Like, what's Oscar the Grouch doing in his little can all day? I'd love to know. What's he doing down there? So, he's grouchy as hell, right? Like, what is he? Why? What's down there? Anyway, it's a whole nother podcast. But hopefully, hopefully we can send some positive vibes to the Sesame Street crew. And with that, everyone have a great weekend. Sunny days sweeping away, clouds away on the way to that sweet air. What you said, Jen? What are we gonna say? How do we get to Sesame Street?
No idea.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend or week ahead, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Somewhat Frank podcast. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and leave us a review. We love the feedback and are grateful to have you as a listener. Have a great day.